when you sit down at an interview, you're not going to get asked how you studied for your exams or how you went to class. You're going to be asked about real world situational experiences. And these can only be got from things that you do outside of the classroom and things that help you develop on a personal level. Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to Chidi Soapbox once again. I'm here to discuss issues that will help you thrive as an international student in the US. Today I'll be discussing involvement and the ups and downs with that. I was really involved in college from my time as an RA to the African Students Association, which I led as president, as well as other opportunities that I had to get involved in smaller capacities. And so we'll be discussing those today and helping you make the decision on if you do want to and letting you know the good and bad of getting into that process. And so it's going to be a great video and enjoy. While I was applying to schools here in the US, I had spaces in my application where they would ask me about extracurricular activities. And I really couldn't put my finger on one thing that I had done outside of class consistently throughout my time in secondary school. My school wasn't very well set up to have extracurriculars, and while I had gone through that, students here would have gone through several different levels of involvement outside of the classroom, and that made me wonder what I was missing. And my university, which was a really large public institution, had over 600 registered organizations, in addition to the university organized departments like housing, dining, and recreation. And all of these organizations shared millions of dollars in funding among each other. And you may wonder what makes a university invest that much money into what could just be clubs. And it's really because universities have found out that having those organizations on a campus helps students be connected to each other and connected to university in a time that's really vital. Universities all over the US also adopt this model, and it's because they found out that when students are connected to the school, they're more likely to do better academically, they're more likely to graduate within 4 to 6 years, which is the benchmark for achievement, and they're just more likely to have a good time and remain at the same institution throughout the duration of their program. While I mentioned that universities have hundreds of student organizations registered, broadly you can break them down into certain types. And so we're going to go through that right now. We'll start off with research. So research is the closest thing I could do outside of class that counts as an extracurricular activity. With research, you're under the guidance of a professor or a graduate student who is leading the effort. And depending on the funding that they have or the pedigree of the institution or the researcher, you could have undergraduate students who are assisting them in the process. And so with this, you're able to form a connection to faculty and you're able to pick up skills that are pretty close to what you should be majoring in and enabling you to learn about things that you didn't know before, things that you could be interested in pursuing graduate degrees or pursuing a career in. Student organizations form the bulk of activity on any campus because any group of students is able to form that organization for any specific interest that they have. And so you could have anything from a cultural organization like the African Students Association that I was a part of, or the Latin American Student Association that I also knew about. You have career-specific ones like the Association of Civil Engineers I was a part of as well. And you could have as varied as an interest as anything. You could have a video game club, which we did have at USF, and generally student organizations are made for anyone with a specific interest to come together and enjoy that one thing, really. You don't have to have it as a very career-related one or a very serious one or representing any particular culture. You could be fans of fiction or you could be fans of documentaries and have a club for that. And so that enables students to have a larger experience than just going to class. It enables like-minded students to come together under one group and enjoy the company of those individuals that share the same interests with them. The next kind of involvement, I like to think of it as student life as a whole. And so the university often sets up departments with certain goals for students and has other students involved in that process. So you are the conduit between the university and the student when you're working in something like a housing or recreation or dining and that kind of thing. And so these are set up by the university to achieve set goals and enhance the student experience throughout their stay there. Lastly, we have Greek life, which is made to have very close knit members. They usually have intakes about once or twice a year, and these that they use to achieve their goals for philanthropy, for community service, things like that, professional development for themselves, and lots of social events as well. And so Greek life is split into different councils for different types of organizations, and they kind of have their own ruling council and rules that they follow. And they also usually have national chapters because they exist on different school campuses, and so they maintain the same rules and different things like that. So now you know the different kinds of involvement. Now let's see what the big deal is about involvement and what the benefits to you will be coming in as an international student or as anyone else. Connection to the school is one of the big advantages of involvement, and I break that down into connection to the individuals in the school and then connection to the corporation or the community of the school. And so when you're in spaces, when you're in student organizations or you're in any kind of involvement, just being in the same space as like-minded people working towards the same goal means that you're more likely to form connections easily. And for me, that truly was the experience because many of my best friends I met in college were through my involvements. And for connection to the school itself, I would say an example is me having to know about resources in the school as an RA for the benefit of passing that on to other students. That helped me learn them for myself and be able to take advantage of them, which was really important, especially since I was an international student and had to have someone really put me through some processes at the school. Showcasing your culture as an international student is one big part of being involved. I would say being away from home means that student organizations like the cultural student organizations could be the closest thing that you have to your home traditions or festivals and things that you did. And so being able to have that is like a home away from home, and it helps you to connect with people from your culture, for example, in a new space, gives you a sense of normalcy, while also allowing you to showcase that to other people. And a really good ecosystem could be formed where you're both learning about other cultures from other organizations and you're able to showcase yours as well. That was something really beautiful that I felt I had as part of my USF experience. Being an international student and being a student in general, I believe that's really beneficial for anyone who goes through that process. Networking is one of the main advantages of involvement. For example, professional organizations will often invite companies onto the campus for things like general body meetings or special events. And during these events, you're able to have one-on-one contact with individuals who work at companies that you could be looking to be employed at. And so this is a good opportunity to really get past some walls that you could have in applying online or things like that and getting some face-to-face time with these people. And so in addition to that, professional organizations often have things like summits or conferences regionally or nationally where employers are really looking to recruit students for internships or full-time jobs. And these are really great advantages that you could have from professional organizations and even other organizations that don't officially dub themselves as professional. You could still have these advantages just from that. On the angle of research, you often have graduate students or professors who are able to get you in the know about opportunities in graduate school or for being part of more research, and those generally just feed into a good loop where you have a good community of people in that field that you can get their opinions on different issues and help them to guide your career really. I would say this is a small but big one, but when you have a paid position with something like the student life departments in your school, you will be able to have a recognized organization give you a letter and say, give this person a social security card. And you don't absolutely need that from them, but that helps early on, especially. And your social security card as an international student will help you with bank accounts, driving licenses, so many things. And so being able to get those positions early and having them put you in the door for a social security card will help you make your life so much easier going down the line, honestly. I'll say finally, people recognize involvements, and usually people talk about involvement in the sense of it would look good on a resume. And I usually prefer not to look at it this way because it often leads people to just do things for the sake of writing them down. But for an example of this is me applying for my full-time job. And one of the first things that my manager latched onto was the fact that I had been a resident assistant, and he was just able to build a frame of reference of the level of responsibility I had because his daughter had been a resident assistant as well. And so when you're going into the real world, people have been where you were and they have gone through these experiences as a student. And so they're able to recognize your efforts and things that you have done. They understand the skills that you've developed in those roles, and it helps you to build a common ground that you can build from in showing your skills, for example, for internships or full-time jobs, like I said. While there are many advantages to involvement, I would say one of the downsides is time. So my RA position was about a 20-hour a week paid position on paper. And it really did feel like that in the weeks when I had to do duty shifts or I had to attend events or when a pipe was leaking in one building and I had to take care of that. And so understanding that you need to ease into involvements and understand how much time you need for schoolwork and your own personal free time, that's really vital because you can go in and overcommit to things. And I did get to that point when I had overcommitted and I just had to realize that I couldn't balance everything and I had to step away from something that I was really enjoying. And so understanding that and understanding yourself is vital when it comes to involvements because it can take a lot of time from you. Related to time, I would say relationships is very similar because you could find yourself canceling plans with friends because you have to go to events or meetings and things like that. Even if you do make friends within those involvement circles, you will always have your friends outside of those circles, and understanding how to balance them when you have to cater to everybody is an important thing that you have to think about as well. Generally, all involvements involve some level of responsibility, and so knowing if you're the kind of person who doesn't want to have people depending on you or doesn't want to have to answer to anyone in any case is vital because you are going to reach that point when you have to keep up the image of the organization or you have a GPA requirement and the things that are just asked of you when you are involved. An example is, once again, being an RA. I had to move in and out before or after everyone else moved in, taking care of the safety of the building and just being accountable for that. And you can be honest with yourself and know that you are in college, you're young, and you don't want to have this level of responsibility. But if you do commit to it, that's voluntary and you are choosing to do that. And so you're choosing and saying that you're going to deliver this amount of devotion or responsibility to it. And that's something that you need to know for yourself. It was fun reliving all my involvements with you. If you were involved or currently involved or hoping to be involved in school, feel free to comment on the best things that you got out of your involvement or things that you look forward to if you're hoping to be involved. You can also comment anything that you want to see included on the channel in future videos. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.